love watching the Keeping It Real show. And here's your hosts, Brad Jewett and Tim Kimura. Yeah.
It's all about Bradford.
From Oak Point, Texas, the Tokyo Tex, the Kamikaze Cowboy, the Sukiyaki Jockey, the Man of Trail, Tim Kimura. And from San Antonio, Texas, a man on a mission and a mission on his mind, the man behind the wheel at Keeping It Real, Brad Jewett.
There I am. All right, man. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yeah.
From Oak Point.
Okay. All right, here we go. Back at you live with Tim Kimura from Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
Ah, yes. Chilly Willy. It's all right.
Got a little chilly there?
Not bad. You know what? I can't complain. I've been in Sweden and France. So Sweden, France, Greeley, Colorado.
Was it chilly there too? What's up, Julie Vogie?
Yeah, congratulations for sure. Yeah.
Wait, that's yesterday's Horseman. I've now been officially engaged into the yesterday's Horseman. So big shout out to all the members of yesterday's Horseman.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about it, you need to find out about it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Excellent. How are you guys doing? You guys recovered from Ohio?
Yes, we recovered from Ohio. It was a great quarter horse congress for us, but just a great quarter horse congress in general. As always, I think Justin did a great job with all the construction and everything going around. I didn't hear a single negative thing from anybody. Maybe I just didn't talk to enough people, but I didn't hear anything from anybody about complaining about the construction. But man, it's going to be amazing once it's done, dude.
Wow. Okay. So they building another arena or another barn?
Building another barn, a 500 stall barn, right? So you know the Adequan, and then there's a warm-up arena, and then on the other side where the Buckeye used to be, they're building another 500 stall complex right there. And so they've got, I don't want to speak out of turn, but talking to some of the chairmen that are there, they're just kind of mentioning some of the things that may be happening next year, like Trail may have its own arena. Yeah. So that's kind of cool, you know, where you actually could practice where you're going to show all those kind of things. But again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but and get anybody in trouble. But as always, Congress thinking 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 steps ahead for the future. And that's why it is still the one.
Got it. Well, I think we have a great show tonight. I appreciate
that. We do. Since you're in Colorado, if you guys haven't been paying attention, he's at Leslie Lange's, and so that is going to be our amazing guest tonight. And I'm ready if you're ready, because I know we're going to have plenty to talk about. We definitely want to dive into her backstory, but we have a lot of current things that I want to pick her brain about as well. So without further ado, hey, if you haven't checked out the Horse Show Network, let's talk about that for a second. If you haven't checked out Horse Show Network yet, please go and do so. Tim and I did a show a month ago, I think it was, about it. But especially if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you're definitely going to want to check it out. Lots of great videos on there for you. Horseshownetwork.com, thehorseshownetwork.com. Make sure you go check it out. And with that said, Tim, you got anything before we bring Leslie in?
I did mention it in my clinics this last 2 weeks.
All right. Well, the subscribers are coming in, so we're thankful for that. And that's part of the whole Horse Show Network deal, is it's a subscriber-based deal, whereas Tim and I were selling a la carte videos. And so now it's just us putting on new videos every month. And, you know, you can go back and find the old ones, get the new ones every month, and just stay engaged with the Horse Show Network. So a lot more fun, good stuff coming in there as we're learning about it. Let's bring it in. There she is.
Hola.
Hey, Leslie. Thank us.
No,
Thank you for thank us. Yeah, can you thank us, Leslie? No, thank you for joining us tonight in your World Show prep. And you leave. What'd you tell me? 2 days? In 2 days, you leave?
Day after tomorrow. Tim's here today and tomorrow, coaching up some of my ladies that are going to the World Show, and I might sneak in a ride or two myself. And then Friday morning, bright and early, we're headed south for the World Show. So yeah.
Wow. And away we go.
And away we go.
What you get there? So what's today? I don't even know what today is. Today's Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday. We get there on Friday.
When do you start showing?
First class, I think, is Sunday late afternoon. It's our first
ranch. Event. Is it? What is it?
No, it's the level 2 amateur hunt seat equitation.
Oh gosh, right on.
Yeah.
And
well, you know
what's the first?
And then I think ranch classes start after that, and I think the level 2 amateur hunt seat equitation's on Sunday. Then amateur ranch riding might be Monday. And then ranch trail is after that, because I think I am fortunate enough I'm doing the ranch trail ride, the pattern there. So that is Monday night. So we get there and rock and roll right away.
Hit the ground running.
Tell you that
hit the ground running.
My girlfriend and my children went today.
Went today.
Yeah. She shows in the same class you're talking about.
Yeah. So kind of interesting, because I have a client who booked a trip to go. She and her mom are big rugby fans, and so they got these rugby tickets, which I guess are hard to get. I don't know. I'm not a rugby fan. So Friday is potentially the rugby game that they're going to in Chicago, and then she flies in like the red eye Friday night. We school Saturday, or I don't know. It's a quick turnaround for her, but I'm like, I'll get there. I'll have your horse ready. So
yeah, I bet you will.
I love it.
We've been practicing at home. So fortunately the horse is fairly seasoned. Obviously we haven't been she's been in barn 6, which I think is where that class is. So we're not too stressed about that, but yeah, kind of hit the ground running. So, well, it's all good. So
we're going to come back to all the World Show things, because there's a lot of questions about scheduling and what's happened with how many classes and all some of the stuff that we were talking about before we got on the show here. But I know we definitely want to touch on Leslie's upbringing, past great horses that she's had, clients she's had. So Tim, let's roll.
Yeah. Why don't you go back and tell us, because I know the story is about how you're raised. I thought that was real interesting, your family and everything.
Yeah, so I was born and raised right outside of Aspen, Woody Creek, Colorado, where my dad was a 3rd-generation rancher in the Pitkin County Valley. Ended up being a county commissioner there, but his family immigrated to that part of Colorado from the Alps between France and Switzerland. So grew up there, grew up on a ranch. My dad actually was a horse trainer, even though we ran commercial cattle, and he trained a young man named Ricky Arbany. Won the calf roping at the very first Youth World ever to be held in Amarillo, Texas. And my dad trained that kid's calf horse. So he was kind of always a horse trainer. And he had this little group of ladies that would come for their Monday morning lessons, school teachers and kind of DIYers. And I just always hung out with them. I'm the youngest of 7. That's a long story, but half brothers and sisters. We kind of had blended family, and all my older brothers and sisters were kind of into horses as well. So I got drug along doing it. Fortunately, I liked it. So that was a good thing. Interestingly, they were the ones that were always very involved when I was young. And then as they matured and went to college and got, a life, they all ventured on to other things, professional careers. And then here I am, many, many years later, still doing the horses. So out of the 7 of us, I'm the only one that still does it. Which is good.
You're the anchor.
I am. or dumb or something. I always thought I'd get a real job. Went to college. I was going to be a vet, and then I was like, okay, that's way too much math. So that went by the wayside. And then, so when I was in youth, so long story short, grew up on a ranch, my folks got divorced. We moved to the Front Range of Colorado, right outside of Denver. And then I started riding with a guy named Paul Scott. So as I was a youth, so I'd get off my horse, like the youth hunt seat, whatever, and then I'd get on his open horses and show on the open hunt seat for him. Well, that's really cool when you're like 16 and 17, and then all of a sudden you get out of youth and you're like, no, you can't be an amateur now because you've been showing professionally. I was like, oh, I missed that point. I missed that part of the rule book. So I don't know that I'd go back and change it, because I got to ride some really nice horses, and it was great for me. But yeah, I kind of set myself on a professional trajectory without really even knowing it.
Wow. So how many years have you been training then?
Oh, you're going to ask me that question? I too am a member of yesterday's Horsemen, like a senior member. So
yeah, there you go. Nice.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's do the math. So I just turned 62, and I was riding for other people's horses when I started when I was 17. So
45.
Yeah, 40. A long time.
Okay. Wow.
Long time.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's awesome or not. Like Tim and I were talking earlier, and we giggled about the yesterday's Horseman, but I kind of have to sit back sometimes and do some introspection, because I still love it. I still am competitive. I still like to help people, but I look at folks like, okay, Charlie Colt, who's younger than me, who's like retiring or quitting and going. Oh. And so I'm like, well, okay, he's still hugely successful, very valid, great clientele. So then I look at myself, and not as successful, but have had a wonderful career with clients and horses and all. I'm like, should I be doing the same thing? So it's an interesting introspection.
Well, exactly. Actually, that's where my brain kind of went, actually. And you brought it up. We didn't talk about this before, but you are in the bull industry now, right? You're bucking bulls, right?
Rodeo. Yep. Rodeo.
Business. And so, well, I guess you have more than bulls too, huh?
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's something that you've put a little bit, you've taken, maybe this is the wrong way to say it. Have you taken more time away from this to go do that? Now, I know you have Jeff there at the ranch, and he does a lot of things for you to keep things rolling and going as well. But has it allowed you to be able to, investigate some more passions in your life?
Most definitely. I will tell you, I don't have very many weekends off, because the rodeo schedule, our rodeo company is based in the Northwest, mainly Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, some into Canada. So I've kind of gotten that schedule lined out, and along with the horse shows that I go to. So it's worked out well, but I truly don't have very many weekends off. Like I had this last weekend off, but out of 52 weekends a year, I bet I have 4 weekends where I don't do anything. But I will tell you, the guys at the rodeo company think they work really hard. And so I told them, I said, you come to a horse show with me, and I won't even take like 15 horses. I'll just take like 8, and I will see who works harder. And I can guarantee you, we at the horse show side work way harder than they do at the rodeo side.
Absolutely.
They would debate that, but
it is. So and I give Charlie kudos, because I remember walking into the Select Western Riding warm up after the class was done, and Charlie's sitting there on the bench. I'm like, well, this is going to be your last time to be doing this. Are you going to miss it? I don't know if I should give his answer or not, but he's still there. He knows this is his last Congress, right? And he's there, and he's still putting that time in. There is something about it. It's like, it doesn't matter how tired you are or what you're going to be doing tomorrow or whatever. There's just something that you always, it's the drive within us, right? To go, you don't want to leave a stone unturned to make sure you've done all you can to be prepared.
That's
right?
not my dog for a change.
Yeah, hold on. Gosh.
Usually it's my dogs, right?
Sorry.
Not my dog.
Sorry. Someone drove in, and my alarm system went off.
Perfect. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
But no, the rodeo's been fun. It's, there was kind of a steep learning curve, obviously, and yet at the same time, there wasn't. It was interesting to me to get involved, and it kind of, we get so wrapped up in our horse show horses and the way we take care of them. And it was a bit refreshing to go and see have horses manage their care in a different setting, like
Right.
where they originated and how hardy they truly are. And it was kind of eye-opening to me as well to see. It kind of made me investigate the way we've bred our horse show horses, because we have bred them for a lot of things. Structural correctness is not one. Hardiness is not one. So it's been interesting to see, the rodeo people come and they'll watch the horse show some, and they go, God, you have beautiful animals from the knees up. What happened to them from the knees down, their feet and legs? Yeah, well, we bred them for things, but structural correctness was not one of them.
Yep.
And, we have rodeo horses, bucking horses that buck till they're 15, 16, some 18, 20 years old. And yet over on our side, oh, it's 10. Well, is it still sound? So it's just been an interesting, kind of refreshing way to kind of investigate different sides of the equine industry, if you will.
So I'm going to skip a little bit here, but we're here, but that's why I'm going to go here. So can you tell us like how well your stock does, like kind of what rodeos they would go to and how they've done at the NFR?
Sure. So, well, I've kind of been in the rodeo business, kind of bought it on a whim in 2000. Oh shit, we've been there 17 years. So we've been fortunate enough to have livestock at the National Finals Rodeo every year that we've been in existence, which that's kind of a big deal, because the way the livestock's picked, it's picked by the cowboys. So once the season ends on September 30th, then the top 20 guys, not just the top 15 who you'll see competing at the NFR, but the top 20 guys go through lists of animals that all stock contractors have submitted. So I will submit lists of bulls that we think should be considered to be their bareback horses and saddle broncs, and then they pick the animals. So the stock contractor presents their list of animals they think is worthy and valid to be there based on their performance, and then the cowboys pick them. So having animals at every event that since we've been in business really has been kind of an honor, if you will. And we've been very fortunate. Out of the 17, 18 years we've been in business, I think we have won around 14 or 15 years of that. So we've been pretty successful.
Yeah. Well, that is, knowing that they pick is saying a lot right there, right? Obviously you submit yours that you want, for them to choose and pick through. And so obviously there's a lot of contractors that do the same thing you're doing. How many, say, bareback horses, or each individual event? How many stock do they have to choose from?
Oh gosh. Well, there's.
Hundreds?
I'm going to give you some. So I'm going to give you some rough numbers, because there's approximately 80 stock contractors, and in order to be a professional, a PRCA stock contractor, you have to own 25 bareback horses, 25 saddle broncs, and 25 bulls. That's the minimum. So we have 25 stock contractors, or 25 animals times 80 stock contractors. So what is that? 1,600 animals?
Wow.
Roughly 1,600 animals. And typically you own more than that. Typically that's the minimum amount that you can own in order to be a stock contractor. So, when we submit our animals, we only submit the ones that we think really, truly are worthy of being there. Mind you, they set up different pens at the NFR too. You'll hear, if you watched it at all, you're like, this is the eliminator pen. So those are the really tough horses that typically aren't ridden all the time. And then they have the semi-eliminator pen, and then they have like their fluffy pen and the hopper pen. And so they try to group those animals together so that it's uniform across the 15. So when we get into the numbers for the NFR, 10 rounds, 15 animals in each round. So that's 150 horses, but they can buck your horses twice. So they don't take 150 horses. I think they pick 115 with the idea that they're going to buck each animal twice. Now, if it fails the first time, it doesn't get to buck a second time. So they have extras.
So narrowed that. So basically 10% of all the horses,
and bulls.
under 10%, and bulls, or whatever event that you're sending horses or livestock to, is what they get it narrowed down to. And you guys have been, wow, that's a great, definitely something to hang your hat on, I would say.
Yeah, we've been lucky. We've had saddle broncs that have won rounds, several rounds. We've had bulls. We had a bull win a round last year. So I think you guys have probably seen some of my go round buckles that I wear at the horse shows, just because they're cool and I'm proud of them. I mean,
and what's your livestock company's name?
It's called Corey and Lange Rodeo. Corey and Lange, Lange, Corey and Lange Rodeo.
So now you guys can be looking for it as the NFR is fastly approaching.
It will be here not too long after our World Show ends. We'll be Oklahoma City bound and then Las Vegas bound.
How about the story? Can you talk about the fan base there?
Sure. So rodeo, I think, with the advent of the Cowboy Channel, has just really grown. It used to be if you were in the animal industry or horse industry, you kind of knew about the NFR, and it was, I guess you could say, maybe a well-hidden secret. Then the Cowboy Channel came along, and it started broadcasting all these rodeos. And the fan base used to be able to say that it was going to be just a bunch of cowboys and their families who came off the ranch for 4 or 5 days and made a big vacation to Las Vegas. That fan base has changed tremendously a couple of years ago. So when I go to Vegas, I don't stay in a hotel. Just that's too much hotel. So I stay at the Grandview, which is right next to South Point, those kind of apartment building looking things. They're little apartments. So I was downstairs drinking some coffee, sitting out one morning, and there was a couple folks sitting next to me. So we got to visiting, and I said, "Oh, where are you guys from?" They were from the East Coast. And I said, "Oh, what are you doing here in town?" And they're like, "Oh, we're here for the rodeo." And I said, "Oh, do you have relatives that are competing?" And they're like, "Nope, we live in town, and we got the Cowboy Channel a couple of years ago, and we love rodeo." They go, "We don't even have tickets to the rodeo, but we come to Las Vegas. We go to the autograph signings. We, go to all the appearances of." So it was very telling to me how broad-based the fan base has been. I was a little, so they do, I don't know if you guys watch the Cowboy Channel at all, but they have, in the summer, they have 100 rodeos in 100 days. So, they go from Sisters, Oregon to Cheyenne Frontier Days to Pendleton, Oregon. And I mean, just every rodeo that they have in the summer, they've got a camera crew there. 100 rodeos in 100 days. And those folks, I thought once they started putting that stuff on TV that what we call them, the butts in the seats, would diminish. Yeah. Like people that actually go to the venue. And that is definitely not the case. We're the primary stock contractors at our first big one that we are the primary stock contractor is in Sisters, Oregon, the second week of June. And it's a little tiny town outside of the Bend Redmond area. And they
love that area.
It's beautiful. High desert, really a cool area. They opened up their ticket sales, I think, 2 weeks ago, and they are almost 65% sold out for next year's rodeo already.
Wow.
And it's interesting to me too, because that fan base is very coastal. A lot of people from the Portland area come and they spend, 4 or 5 days in that area. They go to the rodeo. Sisters is a cute little town. And it's very interesting, the fan base that is at Sisters. Of course, I'm sure you guys all remember a couple of years ago when we had a bull jump out at the Sisters Rodeo. Remember we had a bull jump out of the arena. His name was Party Bus. He jumped out. He did, how do I put it? Interact with a couple spectators. There were some injuries. No one was seriously hurt, thank goodness. But now people come to the rodeo and they're like, "Is something going to jump out?" Like, it's awesome.
No such thing as bad publicity.
No, Party Bus T-shirts, Party Bus hats, all this kind of stuff. It was, and so obviously at the moment it was horrendous because you don't want your animals out, you don't want anybody getting hurt, blah blah blah. And then in the aftermath of it, like you said, there's no bad publicity. People come and they're like, "Oh, is something going to jump out?" Well, the year before that, so we have one of the events that they have at that rodeo is the team bronc riding, which some of you old guys like me will, the wild horse race.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
so you put the horses in the chutes, they put a halter on them, turn them loose, they try to mug them down, get a saddle on them, ride them around the barrel at the end of the ring. A couple of years ago, we had one of the team bronc riding horses took off, and you've seen them where they drag the guys, and the guys just dragging
Yeah, yeah.
along, and
Yeah.
dirt everywhere. And he took this guy from the bucking chutes all the way down the side of the arena, around the end, and back down this side of the arena. And I was standing on the back of the bucking chutes, watched it, and I was starting to cringe because I thought he's going to hit the gate, or he's just going to jump right over the gate. Jumps right over the gate. The guy never lets go. Gets smacked right into the gate,
Oh my
knocks him
God.
out, and the horse runs out, runs into this man gate that led into the back pens and ran right back into his pen.
Oh my
People
gosh.
loved that. They loved
Yes.
it. It's
Of
terrible.
course.
So every year, but I guess I kind of digress a little bit. And my point is, when the Cowboy Channel started broadcasting all this, I think a lot of committees were concerned that they weren't going to get people to actually buy tickets and come to the events. And yet the fan base is so
Good knowledge.
broad and so vast that they still come. So
Yep.
it's
So,
been very good it's even been good for our side of the tracks, if you will, because when
Oh, I
people,
believe it.
when you say that you ride horses or you show horses and they're like, oh, are you on the Cowboy Channel? No,
Yep.
but they're intrigued by with what you do and how you're involved in that lifestyle.
So I was going to tell you, you know, the 100 days, 100 rodeo thing. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, I found a place that you can go watch it.
Oh, well, you can watch
For
it on your
free.
iPad, Tim, if you just
Oh,
buy the app too.
I went to Curtis Reynolds' house.
Oh, yeah.
And it's on for 24 hours a day there.
It lives on his, yes.
Cowboy Channel is never turned off, I'm sure. at
He
Curtis's
leaves
house.
it on all night long.
Yeah.
I can hear the same announcer keep going every day, and it never stops. And then Curtis already knows the highlights. He's like a commentator. Oh, hey, wait, he's coming up. He's going to tell me exactly what happens and how this guy runs. And he knew the girl racers and he knew the ropers, and his cousin was the saddle bronc rider. And like, wow, it was like, wow.
Oh yeah,
that's
no,
too
he's
much.
and I don't think I'm sharing
He's
out of
wonderful.
turn. Curtis and Rocker Steiner are related.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep,
Yeah.
Curtis and Rocker are cousins.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Cousin, small
Yep.
guy.
Yeah,
Can't believe he
Rocker
never told me
Steiner.
that.
Yeah,
Because
Curtis
he was
and-
getting interviewed. He was getting interviewed on that rodeo that day. It's funny.
Yep.
That's my cousin right there. And da da
That's
da
my
da.
cousin, yep. Yep,
Okay,
Curtis
listen.
and Rocker are related, so you'll have to ask him about that next time you see him.
Okay.
But yeah, we chat a lot about rodeo gossip, whatever have you. Yeah. So
Okay, I need
It's
to get
huge.
back to
It is huge for sure.
I gotta get back to the horse shows again.
perfect.
Yeah, but what interests, I love it. That all of that is, I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat because I'd love to learn all of that information from the stock,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and then just how you promote an industry, right? And so that's one thing that obviously we still are trying to do in the quarter horse industry, right? Is trying to promote
Sure.
it. But it's just hard, you know, with some of the events that we have. I won't call any of them out. Some of them, to get people to watch it because nobody's going to jump out of the arena. So
Well, we are a little more exciting for sure. It's if you've never been to a performance at the NFR, like 2 hours and 15 minutes of go. There's, you sit in your seat and all of a sudden the bull riding's over and you're like, I never got out of my seat because it's the 15 best in the world and their production is prompt, it's quick, and they have developed a wonderful relationship with Las Vegas. Obviously, they put up a tremendous amount of prize money, but then the fan base that we bring to Las Vegas from the rodeo, they also participate in the economy of the city, motel room, shopping. Now that a lot of people, all the Canadians usually go to a hockey game there because now that they have the Golden Knights is in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
So the Canadians all go to a hockey game one night. So it really is, it's a very good relationship between the city, and they just signed another 10-year contract. So I believe 2025 is the last year for this year. So 26 for 10 more years, the NFR is going to be back in Las Vegas. So there you go.
That's so much.
But so Brad, you said something earlier that you were enjoying learning or hearing about it. Something that I think that was somewhat eye-opening for me. So when we, as horse trainers, we have an effect on the outcome when we're in the ring. So, we cue our horse to do this, or we find our spot in the trail, or we speed him up to have the right pace for the Western riding, or, we are an integral part of what our horse does in the ring. When you have a bucking horse or a bull, that is so not the case, because you feed them really good. You vaccinate them, you do their feet, you take care of them, and then you load them in the bucking chute and you put a flank strap on them, which we can discuss that later, whatever. And then you open the chute gate and you have zero control over how they behave. They either do or they don't. So it was kind of eye-opening to me, because I am, as we all are, somewhat control freaks. Like, we're very, like referencing the trail, because that's what we all do. That trail course is a choreographed dance where we know where every foot is going to be. And if it's not in place, then we know how to pick up the next step and how to get to that next place and how to perfect it. And yet I used to say to my horses, I'm like, really? I take care of you and I feed you, and I even feed them treats. I've got them treat broke, and I, brush their manes and tails, and that's all you're going to give me. You're going to go out there and you're just going to lope around like a pleasure horse. Like, dude, so it was kind of, not eye-opening, because I knew it, but it really ingrained in me that animals do what they're bred to do. And bucking horses are bred to buck. Horse show horses are bred to show. Reiners are bred to. So I think it just really reinforced that for me, seeing it from a little bit different perspective.
So my last question on this, and then I know we do want to visit a little bit about upcoming show that you're heading to, but do you have breeding stock? Do you actually breed your own now, or do you have a breeder that you go and find?
We do raise. We have about 40 brood mares, and we raise about 40 babies a year, horses. And then we have about 50, what we call them, bucking cows, bucking bull cows. And so we raise, but, therein, that is difficult at best, because if we have 45 cows, and if you have a 50-50 bull crop to female crop, so now you're down to 22 bull calves, and, traditionally they don't all buck. So your return on your investment there is a lot less. We do keep the females, and I'll touch on this because some people find it interesting. Then we can go back to the other side of the tracks, if you will. We buck all of our female calves as well. All the cows, we buck them as well. And we keep the ones that buck well.
That makes sense.
And we don't keep the ones that don't buck well. So, they go, well, how do you know if you keep the cow or not? Like, we buck them. We put them in the chute, buck them just like we buck the bull calves. So, and they are the meanest things on earth. Bucking bull cows are the worst things. So when we gather every fall to wean the calves, the big question is, and you hate to be blunt, but how many of them kill themselves jumping into a fence or whatever? And so knock on some wood somewhere. We've gathered the last 3 years, and all of our cows have survived the experience. So it's been good.
I could ask you so many questions about all that, but I will not prolong. Yeah, I'll not probably, because I know some of our viewers probably would want me to. Hey, and I just want to give a shout out to Darlene Trine. Darlene and Dan, we had a great little retirement ceremony there for them in the Coliseum. That was fun to be there. I did not get to go to their retirement party, but congratulations to the both of you on an amazing career. And I'm so thankful Ohio Quarter Horse did it right by recognizing you guys. So thanks for watching tonight.
Yep. Wonderful people. Congratulations on your retirement. Look forward to seeing you soon somewhere. You guys have been awesome.
Well, from what I understand, she doesn't look like she's ready to slow down. I talked to Darlene. She's like, I'm in a clinic. And of course, Dan's going to keep judging. But I'm just wondering who my new neighbors are going to be at the Congress next year, because they've been my neighbors for so many years.
We're going to have to screen the neighborhood.
You're right. They better be as good as they were. They were always so compliant. We have a leak that comes through and starts raining. We just start talking, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? So
That's awesome.
it's they're amazing people. All right, Timmy, I'll let you go.
Okay, so I have this question that we were talking about today about all these people that these associates that you had horses with and stuff, and I'll go with Troy and Angie, Chuck and Ryan, Gil and Bud. Like those are the four that came to mind for me, or that we talked about. Maybe you can explain how your relationship with those guys have been.
Sure. Well, if you want to backtrack even a little further than that, we'd have to add Holly Hoover to that group.
Oh, Holly, right.
Yep.
For sure.
So early on, I was still a youth, and I wanted to learn how to do lead changes, horse show lead changes. So Holly, being a friend of mine, so she kind of helped me learn how to change leads early on. She'd come and lesson with me. Of course, she got great training from John Hoyt, as a youngster herself. So Holly had a big influence on my career, my knowledge, not necessarily my career early on, because I didn't really have a career when you're young, but she instilled just a tremendous amount of knowledge in me from that perspective. And then Gil, we'd always been friends with Gil. And over the years, I've sent lots of horses to Gil Gallion and his young men to break and train 2-year-olds. Gil obviously is a wonderful horseman, and the thing he's broke and got started for me a lot of my hunt seat horses. People go, why do you send your hunt seat horse to Gil Gallion? I'm like, because he gets it broke.
Right.
It doesn't make any difference what discipline you're going to progress to. I've always said, and I think I've heard other people say it, that I don't like to ride colts. It's not my forte. So when I send mine out, I feel as when I take them on their next steps, I'm either the beneficiary of their first 60, 90, 120 days, or it's something I have to battle for the rest of their life. So to me, those basic formative rides and that first stuff is so important. So Gil and I have been friends. He's ridden a lot of colts for me. And then we ventured out and sent him some horses. And then we got very lucky, and we had Cool Crimson Lady that we bought. Gil campaigned for us and was world champion 2-year-old, went on to have a stellar career. Mm-hmm. And so I still send horses to Gil, so that we've always had a great relationship. Troy Compton and I have been friends for a very long time. I was telling Tim earlier, we were talking about this. I said, I've known Troy forever and ever. And, when we were all younger, I was a bit afraid of him because everybody had a crush on Troy, because that was just what you did, And so we became friends, and then he sent me a horse. Skip Special Barb, after he'd been a world champion pleasure horse, he sent him to me to do the Western Riding the Trail, which I was honored and petrified all at the same time, because how do you take a horse of that magnitude and don't do anything with it? But the expectation has to be grand. Hold on. Hey. So your expectation. So we ended up doing well with Skip Special Barb. And then Troy had Angie Canizaro as a non-pro. So Angie would ride her horses in the non-pro, and then I, at that point in time, was their limited catch rider. So I would ride the horses like at the Reichert celebration in the limited pleasure classes. And we had we went 4, 5, 6 years doing that, and it was hugely successful. So Troy and I have been friends. Yeah. And then, Troy was raising some horses too. And then Come On, You Want to Dance, that I think everybody kind of remembers. Troy raised that horse. And I bought him from one of Troy's clients when he was a 2-year-old. And kind of a funny story there. I catch rode him for Troy at the then Scottsdale Classic, I believe is what it was called, the fall show in September. And won the 2-year-old hunt seat on him there. And he was for sale. Sarah Linus, that owned a bunch of Troy's horses, owned him, and they wanted to sell him because she kind of wanted to get out of the English business and kind of concentrate on the pleasure horses. So, I called all different kinds of clients to buy the horse, And, oh, he's not big enough, or, oh, he's not this, or he's not that. So I stewed on it, and we left Arizona, and then we went to the World Show. And this one day I finally said, I'm just going to buy him. So I called Troy, and Troy's at home, and I'm at the fairgrounds in Oklahoma City. And I said, okay, Troy. And we call that horse Colin. That's his barn name. I said, I've got a vet check set up for Colin tomorrow. Can you get him up here to the fairgrounds? And he goes, oh, that's a good thing you just called. I said, why? He goes, there's people pulling in the driveway that wanted to look at him. I said, well, you can just meet him at the end of the lane and tell them they can just do a U-turn and turn right back on and out the driveway they can go. So long story short, Colin came to live with me. And
had a great career. Wow. What an amazing horse.
He was, so kind of a funny, interesting. He was a reserve super horse when he was 5 years old. And if I had been a 10th in the junior Western riding instead of 11th, he would have been a super horse.
Oh.
So close,
No
but no
pressure.
cigar.
That's pretty close.
But pretty close. But still, so I get, and this is kind of how we transition into like Chuck and Ryan then is, so I had this horse that was doing the hunt seat and stuff. And then I thought, I kind of had an idea that I thought he could probably jump. So I sent him to Chuck Briggs, who I met just sitting in the stands at the World Show many, many years ago when I'd sit in the stands and watch the hunters because I was wanting to become more proficient in the hunters. So when I went to judge, I kind of appeared that I knew what I was doing. So I'd sit in the stands and watch the hunters, and I met Chuck that way because he was showing, and then when he wasn't showing, he'd help me. Allison Bjork, I don't know, there's a name from the past, who was a braider, but also a wonderful coach and had a great eye. She taught me a lot about the hunters, so that's why I became friends with Chuck. So when I had this horse that wanted to go do the hunters, I sent him down to Chuck's. Chuck showed him the year that we were reserve super horse, won several titles on him, and then I kind of had him in and out. I was one of those clients that took their horse home and then would take it back to the trainer and take it home. You know,
They probably didn't mind that too much with you, though.
So I think that, but I was one of those clients. So Chuck showed him a little bit as a senior horse and did great. And then he, being hugely successful, ended up not being able to show him because he had horses that stayed in training full time, fully, completely understand. So I was like, well, who do I think is a wonderful? So that's why I developed a relationship with Ryan. And so this is kind of a funny story. You guys will giggle so when Colin was a young horse, he did quite well, but it seemed like he was always a tad lazy. And so I kind of felt like he'd go around and a little just touch the jumps, just slightly touch the jumps. And so I always said to Chuck, I don't know if he's got enough scope to be a senior horse because the jumps get kind of big then. And so he did well his first year or two in the senior, and then I sent him to Ryan. And so after the fact, like I kind of sensed a little bit of hesitation when I called Ryan about taking him, but he was like, yep, sure, bring him on down. So after the first year, he got along with him pretty good. And then about the second year Ryan had him, they started clicking. And he admitted, he said, you know, I'd always watched him go around and he was always just a little ticky. And he said, I just didn't know if he had enough scope. And he said, and then when I got him, and he and Chuck had a great relationship, that horse, but Ryan and that horse just really, really meshed. And so that's kind of where his nickname originated, was from Ryan. He called him Mr. Perfect. And they just had a great relationship. And of course he went on to win, I don't know, I think we counted at one point in time, it's like 25 or some amazing number of Congress titles, world titles, NSBA titles. So
when he's won the hunter derbies, he's won like a horse that was ticky, like he's won hunter derbies and Eckover and all that, right?
Oh yeah, Eckover. Yeah. And then, but he's a quirky horse. He's won the amateur hunter hack at the Congress, I don't know, 3 or 4 times with a couple different riders. And the first amateur that showed him was Peyton Bivens. And of course, she did well in the hunter under saddle and equitation with him. And then we got her to do the hunter hack. And I have a picture somewhere, I was trying to find it today, of her. And it not just a blink, she has her eyes closed over the first jump in the hunter hack. And so, but he's quirky, but just had a tremendous career. And he lives here at my house. He's retired. He goes out in the grass field every day and comes back in the barn at night. And still sound, healthy, looks great.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
So that's kind of how I
Oh.
developed and maintained my relationship with that. And then we kind of changed gears a little bit, if you will. And then, how do I get hooked up and become friends with Bud Lyon? Well, he, ranch riding comes on the scene, if you will. And I had a little horse that I bought from, for a client from Gary Roberts, and I was having a little bit of trouble. So funny story. So this horse's name is Smooth Cat Man. He's a full brother to Smooth as a Cat. Well, Smooth as a Cat is, 2 or 3 or 4, I don't know, the numbers I will probably get wrong, but a tremendously successful sire in the cutting horse industry. So this horse was shown at the cutting fraternity his 3-year-old year in the first go round. Dismal failure. They didn't even show him in the second round. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but if you guys remember several years ago, there was a bit of controversy with Mr. Tommy Mannion that got into a bit of trouble for shooting a horse with a BB gun.
The BB gun.
Yes. Well, that was this horse. So he was he was a stallion. He was super steady. So after the cutting fraternity, from what I've ascertained, Tommy took him to a list of weekend cutting and tied him to a fence somewhere way away, and the horse was squealing and just acting awful. So he was shooting with a BB gun, which I don't believe ever penetrated any skin, but he was trying to find some method to get the horse to act right. Well, anyway, he got videoed, turned in, all that saga, blah, blah, blah. So from there, the horse went to Gil Gallion. Gil did not like him. He said he was terrible-minded. He gelded him. Lynn Leedy, remember Miss Lynn Leedy that owned cutters and pleasure horses and trail horses? She owned the horse all this time. So Gil didn't like him. So then Lynn Leedy sent him to Gary Roberts, because Gary Roberts had that black trail horse for her for a while. So Gary got him, and Katie Kershka was working for Gary Roberts at the time. And Gary said from the minute that horse stepped off the trailer, he said he was quiet and just gelding him in a different environment. So anyway, long story short, I ended up buying the horse. I have some problems with my turnaround a little bit, so I just decided I was going to ask Bud Lyon for a little bit of help with my turnaround at the Redbud. So we started conferring. He helped me with some of my turnaround, a little bit of stopping. I started helping him with the ranch trail, that side of the ranch riding classes, and we just developed a friendship. And then I kind of thought that I would enjoy having a young ranch rider, so I put him on the task to find me a young ranch rider. And so he looked for like a year or more. And then after the World Show 5 years ago, I guess it would be now, he called me and he said, I think I might have found one. And so he sends me the videos, and I look at the horse, and we end up buying him. And that ends up being Sumac Gonna Be Flashy, which to date is probably the most decorated ranch riding horse in the industry. And
Wow.
Fortunate for Bud Lyon. I'm very fortunate for him. The horse, he was the super horse at the World Show last year. He won 2 classes at the Congress this year. Interesting sideline of that horse. So we bought him from Garth Brown. He was raised in Canada, obviously headed to the reining fraternity, but not going to be a level 4 horse. So they didn't show him at the fraternity. But last year, Bud's wife, Kim, took him to the Run for a Million in Vegas and tied to win the rookie reining on him at the Run for a Million in Vegas.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow. Good.
So he's fairly versatile. Versatile.
Wow. I wondered, it's good to hear that, because I wondered how you and Bud's relationship had started. But, I can't help but be thinking of the stories here that you told us between Colin and this horse. Is that what comes to my mind, Tim, is what a some people call it luck, and you know what I think of luck. I don't think luck has anything to do with anything. I think it has everything to do with how you prepare and the gifts that you have. And I think, whether it's your livestock that you're bucking out, or whether it's the ones that you're training up, buying, showing, whatever, you have an eye for livestock. And
I appreciate it.
And you're willing to put your own money on the line, right? To buy these horses, even when somebody, any of your clients wouldn't. Like, I believe in this horse, and you put it with the right person. The other thing is, have you shown the horse that Bud has?
Okay, so interestingly,
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's awesome that you have these
Yeah.
amazing horses and you do show them for Colin and stuff like that, but you allow these other trainers to be able to
well,
do this and make a name for themselves. It's truly awesome.
well, interestingly, so when Romeo, we call Sumac going to be Flashy Romeo, when he was 4. So the very first horse show that he went to was the spring show in Oklahoma, or they moved it to Tulsa. So it was a spring show in Tulsa, and Bud wasn't coming, but he sent his assistant at the time up there, and he said, "Hey, I'm not coming. I'm getting ready for some big reining or something." He said, "But I'll send Romeo along, and if you think he's ready to show, why don't you go ahead and show him?" So we get him up there, and I rode him, and I showed him, won the circuit in the junior ranch riding on him there. Kind of messed with a little bit of the trail, which Bud had not been doing. We get to the NSBA World Show that year. I was 3rd in the junior ranch trail at the NSBA World on Romeo. And at the World Show that year, as a 4-year-old, the ranch trail still had not been split yet because it hadn't been a class long enough. So the ranch trail was all ages, and I was 11th in the all-age ranch trail on him as a 4-year-old. So I did get to, and then after that, Bud took him away from me, and I
Right. Right.
anymore. I don't know that I want to show him. Like I'm like,
Right.
Right.
yeah, no, I don't want to mess with perfection. And Logan has shown him for us too. And Logan Pluhar, that works for Bud, wonderful young woman, and she's shown him. And I guess
she does a great job.
it's the accolades are fun, but to see the relationship that has developed with that horse and Bud, I've had some special horses in my lifetime that I had a special bond with. One from a long time ago, a big gray horse. That's actually how I met Tim.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Fine Dandy that I showed
Yeah.
the trail. And I remember I had this horse for a couple different clients and none of them meshed. And so I ended up getting, my mom bought him. I talked my mom into buying him and I met Tim. We were at the Sun Circuit and I'm rocking through the trail course. And the last obstacle is a water box and I can't get this thing even close to the water box. So I leave the ring defeated, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to tackle this obstacle? And then I still laugh about it because I tell Tim this. I go, so I'm leaving the trail area, and then I'm like, oh God, there's some Asian dude that's like following me, like, and he's like, hey, and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, what? And he's like, I want to help you. I'm like, help me with what?
I don't speak that language.
I'm like, so he's like, I'm going to help you get this horse through the water box. And so that was January of 1994.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
so he got me through the water box. By the last day of the Sun Circuit, I'm the winner in the senior trail. And then he helps me. And then the very first year that Tim designed the courses at the World Show was 1995. And I won the senior trail on I'm a Fine Dandy. And Charlie won the junior trail on Cluzo's Candy Kisses. And that was the first time either one of us had ever won a world championship.
Awesome.
And Tim designed the courses. So that's, but
Our
so I
bonding.
digress a little bit, but not. So I've had I'm a Fine Dandy, come on, you want to dance. A horse I'd like to mention that I lost here a year and a half ago, the Immortal. Like that was a horse that he and I
was going to mention him.
He did a lot of things for me.
Right.
Versatile. I mean, you did the ranch on him, and then before that, the Western riding, the trail. You did so much on him. He's a good pleasure horse too. I mean, yeah.
He was 4th at the Congress as a 2-year-old in the Western Pleasure, and then went on, and I think I was a reserve world champion in the senior ranch riding at the World Show. Won the NSBA World on him several times in the ranch riding. I think the highest I ever was there was 2nd in the senior Western riding. He won the limited Western riding with Jeff at the NSBA World, and then I was a world champion in one of the ranch riding classes. I think one of the few horses that had a superior in the trail, ranch riding, Western Pleasure, Western riding. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, I think something else to mention here is there's so many people that do buy horses to, flip them. And you truly enjoy the whole product. Like you said, the relationship between, Ryan and Colin and Bud and Romeo and you and the stud. It's just so it's awesome that it shows your love for the animal, and it's not just something that you use, but it's a relationship that you actually build and enjoy.
People get into the horse business, I think, for a variety of reasons. And we have a lot of folks that raise a lot of tremendously nice horses. And I guess I'm a bit old school in that when I decide to raise a colt, if I can find someone who wants to buy it and is going to have a good home, that's great. But I am prepared to keep it from birth to death if that is the scenario that transpires over that horse's life. I just had a mare. I just put her down Labor Day weekend. She was 34 years old. I bought her when she was 19 on the World Show sale. Remember, they used to have that, not before the one they have now, but they used to have a sale at the World Show. She was way at the end of the sale, 19 years old. She was in foal. I paid $900 for her. I felt sorry for her. I'm like, this poor little cute little old mare. Well, so I sold the colt that she had in her for $7,500. I raised, I think, 4 more colts out of her. I sold them for $75,000 cumulatively, and she lived here till she was 34. She was an own daughter of Mr. Conclusion.
Wow.
Wow.
It's who I am.
I think to parlay it into kind of our previous conversation, we kind of before the show talking about leases and stuff like that. There's proper ways to do things, but I believe we're a little bit of the same cloth. Like I don't like to buy a youth kid 4 different horses. Like I want them to be able to bond. I want them to be able to know that you're not going to win every time, but what can you do to be better? And I encourage all my kids, like, get your horse out and brush on them. Like the only time you ever get them out is to go throw a saddle on and ride on them and learn something. I said, Vilderly, go hang out in their stall, like get to a bond with I've done that with the horses that are just mine that I'm showing that I'm not necessarily sharing. Otherwise I leave them alone because I'm like, you need your alone time because I'm sharing with the kid and all that. Right. But if it's just me showing the horse, I will just go in and just pet on them, and just rub on them in their favorite spot to get rubbed. And I try to encourage that with my kids as well. Because we do ask a lot of the animals, and sometimes, the kids will ask them the wrong thing. And I know I will too. You think you're asking them one thing, but they think you're telling them something else, And so you kind of got to ask for forgiveness in some ways too. But I think that is a big thing for me is what a horse's soul can do for a kid and for another human being. And I think that just gets glossed over with a trophy a lot, and don't get me wrong, we're all in it in a competitive way. And we're all in it to win it, but there is only going to be one winner. And how do we keep our industry around for decades to come? Again, you've been doing it for 40 plus years, and wouldn't that be an amazing story for everybody that ever stepped foot into an arena at a quarter horse show to say they're all going to be in it for 40 years? Then I think we could all feel really good about that,
Well, and
go ahead.
And like them at the end of 40 years, still like them. Here at my place, I don't have automatic waters in my stall barn, so we still have to go and water. And I think for me, it does several things. We all take turns who has to do water duty at night. And to me, obviously, one, I know who's drinking water and who's not. But I go around and I have treats in my pocket. And as I'm filling up their bucket, they're nuzzling on me and I'm feeding them a treat. And you get to understand the nuances of their personalities. And some are friendly, some aren't friendly, but you understand the nuances when they live in a contained space, how that translates to when you take them to a horse show or how you communicate with them. And so I think it's cyclic on how you learn about horses. So we have some of our bucking horses. Like I have one, he'll mow you down for treats, and you walk up to him and he's up to the fence, and he walks up to you with purpose, and you think, oh, this could be, and yet then he turns his butt to you and wants to be petted. And then we have other ones that'll sneak it out of your hand, and then they're still skeptical, but yet they want to have that interaction. And they all have unique personalities, and I love. I still have Dress in Gold here, that cranky old horse.
Peyton's old horse,
Yep, Peyton Bivens' old horse, and he's still here. He and Come On You Want to Dance go out in the field together every day. That's
awesome.
They're buds.
So with your career and stuff, World Show, everything, your rodeo, what's are you satisfied with how your life has gone so far? Is there something else you really have on your radar or anything like that, or you content with
I
how it's
think,
going?
I've been so blessed. And I don't say that lightly. I've been very, you said earlier, Brad, you don't believe in luck. And I mean, I do to a point, but I think you're right. I mean, you have to have knowledge and you have to have belief, and as many nice horses I've had, I've had some mistakes and some ones that haven't turned out, but I accept that too. Um, I kind of stepped away from the judging for a little while and actually kind of thought about giving up my judge's card. I've had it for, I don't know, long time, and kind of got not disillusioned, but just didn't enjoy it as much. And then the last year and a half, I've kind of stepped back into that arena a little bit, if you will. And I'm back to enjoying it. So I think that's a part that I would like to explore a little bit more.
That's a good subject to bring up as we're going to the World Show and all that. Is I feel like we have a lot of classes. We keep adding classes and adding classes and adding classes, and I know we have our specialty judges at the World Shows for, the roping and the hunters and all that, and with some of the all around. I feel like I feel like we're heading to a place where everything is going to become a little bit more specialized, which I don't think is bad. I think for judges, like most judges love judging the trail. Everybody I've ever talked to, but most of the time people I judge with are all around judges, but they're like, I can't wait to judge a trail, because it is, of all the classes, I feel like it's one of those that is very entertaining, because sometimes you get one that, isn't going to jump out of the arena like the bull did, but it is kind of fun to watch. And some of this, like, I want to see the pleasure horses go around. It depends on what part of the country you're going to judge too, right? If you're going up to judge, in Ohio, in the spring, you're going to want to go to watch some great pleasure horses. And so, do you feel like that's where it should go or could go, or do you say no? I think you should be able to judge all things. What's your take on that?
I think my verdict's out a little bit. I think, like those of us that specialize, if you will, in the all around stuff, I think we are quite capable and knowledgeable to judge the showmanship, the horsemanship, the equitation, the trail, the Western riding. Speaking personally for me, when we get out to some of those peripheral events that I don't see very much of, like the cutting, I love watching it, but am I really versed to go judge 30 in the junior cutting? Probably not. And that's just a function of, I don't see it very often and I'm not exposed to it. So I appreciate it, but I don't know that I have the knowledge or the eye development to see the nuances that I do in the trail, that I do in the Western riding, that I do in the horsemanship. So I think there is an argument for a bit of specialization, and not even necessarily so individual, but like those cattle events, that cattle adds another element to it. And I'm not versed in those nuances. Whereas, in the trail, the Western riding, we see all those nuances and we can almost anticipate things happening before they do, because we're so versed in how the horses are prepared, how they're cued. We can see things occurring before they actually, I knew that horse was going to break 3 strides out because they were off stride. Whatever. So I think that specialization to a point in the judging parameters, I think, is okay, because I think that we've gotten so specialized, and so the level of our horses has become so good that the nuances are so minute, if you will.
Right.
That's
you can see like you said, you can see the stride 3 strides before whether that spot, and if there's not an adjustment, you're going to see that in the trail, or going to a lead change or whatever that may be, or horsemanship or rack. And I because I feel a little guilty sometimes when I'm asked to judge, because I'm very capable in all the cattle stuff, but like you, I don't judge it. Maybe once every 5 years.
Right.
And I feel like I don't do a service to the people that do that for a living, and they want me to judge them. I don't feel like I do them justification in giving
Right.
them a score, right? But if that's all I did and I didn't train horses anymore and I was just a full-time judge, I would probably make sure that I'm more versed in it, and I'd probably do it more often and all that. But I mean, I'd just throwing this out there that I feel like that's where our horse shows kind of have to go some too, you know, is more of the all around shows, more of your ranch shows, more of your
Yep.
cut it or your cow shows, roping, whatever. I feel like that's where it kind of, your days would be shorter.
Yep.
I feel like that would make the exhibitor a little happier. And I think that's a big thing that pushes a lot of fathers away. What time are
Yeah.
you going to show? Oh, we get ready all day and I'm going to watch you for a minute and a half.
Right. And they're like, boring.
We laugh about it. And I know there's memes and TikToks and all that stuff made about it, but there's a lot of truth to that, right? When you think about how much money people are putting into it, and then you see these comments and these memes online, you're like, that's not good. You know, that's not good. That's not a good sales pitch for what we do. You know, obviously the kids getting a lot out of it, all that, we hope,
Right.
or the amateur or whatever. But the parent who's footing the bill that wants to go and watch is going, really? Is this really, you know,
Right.
where I want to put my money?
It's, you know, different than if your kid's a soccer player or a tennis player, because you invest in some cleats and a soccer ball, and then they go to practice, and then when they're done, there's no expense. Unless they're in a club and there's club dues. Sure. But when your kid doesn't show, you know, you still pay training on the horse, and you still have to pay the upkeep on the horse. So there's that argument. Huh?
Yeah. The horseshoeing in the vet.
Oh, horseshoeing and vet, and
where'd those ringers come from?
Chiropractor and the ice therapy when you're at a horse. I mean, it's, you know, just it's amazing. I mean, which is it's kind of a catch-22, because we didn't used to have all these therapies and all these things that we could do to treat horses, and now we have so many advances in veterinary medicine, in therapies for lamenesses, you know, the traveling ice baths, the freezing mystic ice, all the different things that we have, so many different therapies, but they cost money. I mean, they cost money, you know, and we say, well, let's go back to the good old days when we had, you know, I mean, as a kid, like, they'd rope for 2 hours in the morning, and then we'd show the halter, and then we'd do the showmanship, and we'd run a whole horse show in one day. Well, that was when we didn't have, you know, all the leveling, and it created a little more sense of community, because you knew who the ropers were, and you knew the reiners, because you all showed on the same day. And when there was an exhibitor party, everybody showed up at the exhibitor party. Now we've gotten so specialized that, you know, yes, we all know who JD Yates is, but there's a whole lot of ropers that, you know, I know, because and you guys probably do, but there's a lot of folks who are tremendously successful in that arena that a lot of folks in our world, the all around part, don't know, because they don't have any exposure.
Yeah.
Well, they used to have those big exhibitor parties at Chisholm's. I met a lot of people in Chisholm's.
There's been a lot of dancing done at Chisholm's. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I think there needs to be a little overhaul of some sorts, you know, in this process, to really step back, you know, from a 10,000-foot view and go, okay, well, what's it going to look like in 10 years and 20 years and all of that? How can we make this more appealing and have a better retainment of people in 40 years? They can look back and go, yeah, I was doing this 40 years ago. Because I feel like we've gone through a decade of, like, I've seen people 10 years ago that I don't see today, you know? And so I feel like there's something that needs to happen there. And, you know, we can talk about the World Show. I know we're past 7:00, but we got a great guest here. And if you guys are good, we're going to keep rolling. But I know you're an hour behind us, actually.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you're fine. You still get the dinner.
Yes.
But the World Show, in all of the different levels and all of the classes that we've added, and, you know, you'll show the prelims here, and then you won't show the finals until there. Or maybe this horse is going to be in the first 3 days of the World Show, but then it's not going to show in the Open until, however long later. And all of those things are obviously costing clients money to have those horses there. We won't even talk about what it costs on entry fees and stalls and all that kind of stuff, but just the day in and day out expenses that it costs trainers to be there. I would not want to be tasked with that job to set the schedule.
No.
But as we were talking before the show, selects used to have their own. Amateur used to have a week, Open had a week, and speak on for the both of you on as to whether you like that better or whether you like the way it is better.
Well, I guess I'm a little bit old school. I liked it when the Select World was in Amarillo. Twofold. I mean, I didn't mind the venue. A lot of folks didn't like the venue, thought it was, didn't have a World Show feel, and that could be argued. But what I liked about it was I could go there and my clients had my undivided attention.
Right.
I wasn't worried about getting my open horse ready. I wasn't worried about helping my level 2 clients. And I felt like those folks thoroughly enjoyed that undivided attention. Like it was their time to shine. We obviously have a lot of professional amateurs who grew up doing the horse showing. And so they're very adept at the World Show experience. But I took a lot of people to the Amarillo show. That was their first World Show experience. And they loved it because it was a little smaller, a little more intimate, if you will. Yeah. And they got to know more of their exhibitors on a little bit more personal level. And I just think that they liked that environment. Obviously progressed since then, but I liked it when it was in Amarillo.
Like when I was in Amarillo and I watched the same thing you're talking about, it's funny because the trainers' barns aren't so big. So everyone had like 5-6 stalls. So then everyone was like sitting with their director chairs in the next to their tack room. But right. And like I said, the little clusters of people that probably wouldn't talk to each other very often. They had a little time while they're waiting for their next event a little bit, right? Yep. And even just the way they promote it, because we were so close to the AQHA, that they could staff it with their guys, right? And they did a lot of PR stuff during the whole week for that thing.
Yep.
Yeah. We have a vote for separating from Rhonda. Thank you for commenting, Rhonda. If anybody else wants to comment on that, but I think it is. You look at the Youth World. The Youth World has their own week.
Yep.
And we do get to completely give 100% attention to the kids and their horses and getting them ready. And I think the Youth World has grown.
Without a doubt.
Amazing how that works, right? And I don't know how it looks from the expense of AQHA to be able to put it all in, a big deal in Oklahoma City in November, but from a spectator or from a exhibitor standpoint, I could totally see the individual world championship shows, how that would work. You look at the Congress, and I mean, the trainers are just absolutely exhausted going, okay, I got to go show over here. Well, my kid's going to go show over here. My amateur, my select. It's a lot to have to do. And besides the fact, the horse has to pack the amateur youth round and the open round in 2 days, and try to be ready at the highest level. So I feel like it's hard. I'm in your camp.
How do you prioritize? Like, how do you prioritize? And okay, so I've got someone going in the Coliseum and someone going in Cooper on those days when there's 3 arenas, and then I got to be in Celeste. So who draws the short straw, if you will? I mean, so do I slack on my open horse, or does the 11 and under walk trot showmanshipper get mom to take him to the pen? It's hard to it's hard to be everywhere and not have your clients feel like they got slighted in some way.
So
it's a challenge.
In a similar conversation, when is this switch going to get flipped, that if you're not level 2 at the World Show, you're not level 2 all year?
Well, that, well, and to further extend that, I think, if you will, I'm back to being a level 2 in the trail and Western riding.
Good job
Really?
there.
Yeah.
Good
So,
job.
I mean, this is just I'm going to do it because I'm eligible,
Sure.
and I guess I'll throw out another name. Bruce Vickery's been a world champion. I don't know how many times in the Western riding. He's a level 2 Western rider exhibitor at the world show.
Wow.
I
Wow.
think once you are not level 2, you're not level 2. Like, I understand how they do the rolling limited at the Congress. That's to kind of keep their numbers up, and it's a 3-year progression on their monies won there. But I think the parent organization needs to re-examine that graduating out of level 2 and not being able to come back until I'm like 900 years old or can't get on my
Well, yeah,
horse or something.
I'm okay. Personally, I'm okay with a rolling back, but it can't be 3 years.
Right.
Right.
I mean, if it's got to be longer than that, right? It that's way too soon. So, okay, you get injured for 2 years, then you're back.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think 3 years is long enough. But I mean, I don't think Rainers, I don't think any of those guys they show all year in their level. They don't get to show down a level. I don't care if it's a weekend show or the fraternity or the derby or whatever. You're that level 3 or level 4 rider. You don't get to go down to 3. If you're 3, you don't get to go down to 2.
2. So
It doesn't make sense to me for the longevity and to be able to create and bring in new trainers. I feel like we need it. The broader base we have, the more people we're going to reach. And if we just keep this right up here at the top of the pyramid with horses going to them, then it all gets, I don't know, the piece of the pie gets smaller. And that's how, to me, that's how you shrink a business. If
without
the
a
piece
doubt.
of the pie gets smaller.
Like the point you made earlier, I think that we do need consistency from, if I'm level 2 all year long, then I should be level 2 at the World Show. Those two shouldn't be separate. They need to be the same. Whichever way they choose to do it, I think I would be okay with, but it needs to be the same because I can show a level 2 trail horse when I wasn't a level 2 rider all year. Then I get to the World Show and I can't show it. And I think, as we chatted earlier, the nuances and the intricacies of a class like that, you've got to be kind of in tune with your horse to go show at a World Show level, the trail. Tim throws everything but the kitchen sink at us. And so if we haven't kind of had a relationship with that horse and kind of know the ins and outs of him to then throw a catch rider on it, a lot of times they can do really well, but I don't know that that's the best utilization for my client.
Again, all we're doing is hunting trophies, right? And we always talk about what's best for the horse, and we're relying upon those athletes. That's what we build our the industry is supposedly built around. And so, again, I think if the level 2 assistant trainer is riding that horse at home, they're gaining a knowledge and a better feel, and they're learning. You get to the World Show and they win it on a horse that they've been riding. I'm not going to feel really good versus, it's my level 3 horse, trainer's horse, and I'm just going to go hop on it and hope I know it. So again, it's understanding that piece that I always say that the people higher up than me are smarter than me. I always try to keep things really simple in my mind, and I think from a business standpoint that's what makes the most sense for our industry. Not maybe for me, but for our industry.
Yep.
Okay.
Sound like you have a typewriter back there, Tim. Like you're typing up new notes or something.
It's my seat.
It's your chair. Okay.
I'm going to tell you one thing before we get to the end of this thing. The other thing that I was telling you about the select going in Amarillo.
Yeah.
That's probably the only reason I'd ever go to the museum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was interesting because I would have never gone in my life unless Select World was there.
Yep.
But to at least see a little history. Yeah.
Remember the group from Louisiana that always had the big Cajun boil? That gentleman from Louisiana would come and he brought, shrimp and crawfish and
right.
Yep, and always did a big Cajun boil for everybody at the Select World out in the barn. And so many people, they got to meet folks from all over that they didn't know. And then they'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to go watch the team penning because I met this lady at the Cajun Boil last night, and that's what she
There
does.
you
So I'm gonna
go.
go watch
Yeah.
it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
It was
Yeah.
like old
Remember when-
times.
yeah,
Remember when we had Bob on the show, Bob Avila, right? And
Yeah.
he was talking about all those days that he like, I'm done. I'm going to go watch whatever. And that's how everybody used to seem to do that more at the World Show. And now there's just so much going on that if
Yep.
you're not showing, you're sleeping or you're out of there, you're schooling for the next one. You don't even you have time to go watch anything, right?
yeah.
Nick Smith, huh? Nick Smith, because Jan would know. Right.
Oh, Nick
Jan,
Smith. Gotcha.
Oh yeah.
Jan would know.
that's it. Jan would know.
Thanks, Jan.
But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting dynamics over there. Like I said, it was good for the office people from AQHA to see a big show like that because they
Meet
were
all
all,
of them.
yeah, we were all about it, right? And then we did all these events like the dinners and the museum, and we went to have the concert. They had barbecues, and it was quite good for those selects. And like I said, it was all about them.
Yeah.
And game on.
Yeah.
And I think we've I would say, because I went to a few of those as well. I didn't go to all of them, but the select has shrunk since it's been moved to
for sure.
November.
I agree. I think
sure.
there's a lot of, I know, I've heard people say that they don't want to go to the big world show because it's too intimidating. And they're like, well,
Mhm.
you don't show against those folks. Well, but I don't know how to be
Right,
in the warm-up
right.
pen with them.
Right,
You know,
right.
just the environment itself is intimidating to a lot of folks who used to go to the select world because it was, their own peer group and it was just them. And so they didn't get intimidated by it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, you're talking about the ones that we need and that we want into our industry. Obviously, those that won last year and that are there, that they feel like they can be top 5 and they don't care. They're
Right.
like, I don't care where it is. I'm going to be there and I'll ride around these people. But again, if it's a business model, you're not worried about the one that's knows they're going to be
winner.
top 5 in the class and the winner. Yeah. It's the new ones that you want to come in and be able to experience the product that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
I get it.
Oh, Gene commented on that too.
Gene said it was fun in Amarillo,
Yep.
I used to laugh because when we first started going to Amarillo, I personally loved the horse show, but it wasn't my peer group. I was not their age yet. I was still young. Now I'm like, that is my peer group, and I still want to go back to Amarillo if I was showing there. It just was more, I don't know, it just was a little more personal for that group. And there's so many selects, I think, that, yes, they're competitive and they want to do well, but I think they've also reached a stage in their life where this is a bit of a release. They enjoy it. They're competitive. They want to do well, but they also enjoy the relationships with people that they've met and the relationships with their horse. Because traditionally they are, they've been successful in business. They are potentially either in the twilight of their career or they're retired. And so the competition is an important part of it, but the camaraderie and the experience is almost as important as the winning, if you will.
Don't you think those husbands of those select ladies appreciate hanging out with the other husbands of select ladies, right? Like they could tolerate it a little bit more because there's the same. We got video though. We can't be late to video. We got a video.
Then they figured out that neither of the wives show till like 1:00 tomorrow, so then they can go golf together.
Right.
Right.
There's a catch in that. They're the sponsors, those guys.
They get to be friends. And then they go on a vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
And then wives come along and they, I think a lot of friendships and relationships were developed out of that as well. And it's just not quite as personal anymore. But I don't know, some people would say progress,
Right. Right. We just want to tell them how it used to be. It used to be this way.
Yeah, exactly.
And, maybe Amarillo's to me, it's just not even just about Amarillo, but I think it's just about a more personable experience for them. That's maybe less intimidating. I think it's about knowing your customer for these world shows. And to me, the open world is a place to showcase stallions, mares, and, to promote your breeding
Mm-hmm.
Right.
programs. Right.
Yeah, because we're a breed
similar-
registry.
Right. And it's not, and I think when you mix in the amateurs and the selects, I think it changes a little bit of that especially for the ones that are not thinking that they have a chance to win. It makes it feel intimidating. I can totally see that, right? Because you look at all the people with the ads that are going up there, you're like, well,
Yeah,
I'm
I
competing
can.
against that one, right?
Right.
Just doesn't
Yep.
doesn't work out. So definitely food for thought for whoever's watching this and is in control of these things, but I'm
Yep.
certainly not. It's just my 2 cents, and this is our platform, so we're using it.
Yep. It's a good story. It's good stuff, right? Who else are going to
Yeah.
talk like this, right? We all come from it's a good
Called
area
keeping it
for us
real
all
for a
to.
reason.
Yeah,
Yep.
right, for sure.
And I'm old,
Exactly.
so
And
I
Bear,
can say it.
and it's funny because like Bear was like our first week, I think, or second week, because she was like prime time COVID when she was on the first time.
COVID. Yeah,
Yep.
we were one of the early COVID
Blowing
conversations.
and going back then,
Right.
for sure.
Yep,
For sure.
it was fun.
2020,
So, well, I appreciate you
2020.
guys. Tim coming up and helping my ladies here for a couple days and heading off to he just got back last night from his European journey, and he was gracious enough to come up and give them some quick
Yeah.
in and out for a couple days, and then we'll go to the World Show and see if we learned anything. And
Land at 10 p.m., get back on the 7 o'clock a.m. flight. Heck yeah. What the heck?
yeah, he's a trooper. He's a trooper.
He is.
I appreciate all that. So when we get off here, I'm taking him to dinner.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
I'm appreciative that he gets to do so much, but selfishly, I'm like, come on, man, give me some time here. The best thing about Tim being gone so much was that I got a lot more time with Leslie Hellman.
Yes.
Yeah, that sucked. Yeah. Leslie Hellman.
Les has worked on all of us. Like
Yes.
He's
many
kept
times.
us all sound. He's kept the writers sound enough to be able to go do their job.
Right on, exactly right. Well, Leslie,
she
thanks
wants
again.
it.
I'll let you guys roll out of here and go get some dinner.
Okay.
I see my wife has chimed in like, you still on? Oh, yep, you're still on. Okay.
Yep.
So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Safe travels to Oklahoma City. And
Awesome.
I will not be there, but I'll be watching
We'll
for
miss
sure.
you.
Well,
We'll
thank
miss
you very
you.
much. Thanks for your
Okay,
time.
boys.
Best of skill to
There
all
you
of
go.
you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Later.
Marcelo.
it.
Thank you, Marcelo.
Ciao. Thanks, Marcelo.